Here with the hottest man in boxing, Manager Marty. What's good, Marty?
I'm doing great, man. One of the best shapes of my life, man. How you?
Oh, man, I'm chilling, man. Glad we can link up. Yo.
Absolutely.
All right, Marty. It's announced. July 29th, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. I found something interesting, though, Marty. Terence Crawford was represented by CAA's, I think his name's Ish Henson.
That's correct.
Right?
Yep. Talent agency, by the way.
Yeah, talent agency.
That's correct.
One of the largest in the world.
Yep.
Represents athletes, actors, music artists, right?
That's correct.
I know CAA has a relationship with Al Heyman because a lot of people don't realize Al Heyman is a music promoter first. Mm-hmm. And so they've probably had multiple dealings. But he did what you said. You found elite level representation.
That's correct.
What's your thoughts on that?
I think that if people would have given me an opportunity, not all, but some people would have given me an opportunity on YouTube to be able to express it more consistently and really start to listen with their ears and not with their perception of who Crawford is, I think I wouldn't have a lot of backlash that came to me. Because I've been saying this for the last 7 months since you made me the hottest manager on YouTube. So I've been talking about this over and over again, month after month, video after video that I produced on Terence Crawford. And sure enough, here we are. He finally listened to what I was saying. Not saying that he directly looked at my channel and all of a sudden I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that the information that I produced rung true. And good representation in this business, as I always say, is priceless. So I feel great about that. That's a good thing. Salute to Terence Crawford on that.
Now, it seemed like now that he had the representation, the deal got done. I ain't saying it was easy, but it got done. We got the fight.
Yes.
And what's your thoughts on the fight as a whole, though?
I think it was good as a whole. I mean, from a fan's perspective, nobody didn't want to wait this long. But it's happened. It's happening now, according to all of the parties involved. So we'll just leave it like that. You already know my personal take on that. The fan base of the channel and supporters know my take on that, so I won't belabor the point. But let's just use it as, hey, this fight has been announced. But the deal got done because of good representation on both sides. In other words, is the fighters don't have to bring their egos in because they have reputable people that are experienced, that are wise, that know how to close out deals, and that's exactly what happened. You heard Terence Crawford himself say, you know, I can sit at the table and talk to these high-level individuals and the big wigs, but he could never get nothing done because ego is in the way. But once you eliminate the ego and put the experts in the position or the boxing representation in position, the deals are always going to get done. So I think it's a great thing from a fan's perspective that this fight is finally inked in stone.
Now, you've caught a lot of flack from Terence Crawford fans. They consider you a Terence Crawford hater.
Yeah.
This is what you do for a living. I'm not an expert in negotiations.
Yes.
I feel like I have good people around me that that can explain and relay that information. Is your issue with Terence Crawford personal, or it was more professionally what he was doing?
Always professional. I mean, nothing's never personal. This is just business. And like I always say, it's never personal. It's never racial. It's just business. If Terence Crawford was sitting in my face, I would have said the same thing to Terence Crawford personally that I said on YouTube. In fact, Terence Crawford was in my face. And I think I shared this with, your fan base and even mine's a long time ago that I met Terence Crawford. I was sitting live front row when Errol Spence fought Danny Garcia. And he was adjacent from my row. And I walked up to Crawford. We had a conversation. And he told me Bob Arum is the reason why the fight between him and Spence wasn't happening. He told me that face to face. So I told Terence Crawford, if that's the case, then maybe you should not re-sign with Bob Arum. And a year later, guess what happened? It sounded like he listened to me again, but he didn't re-sign with Bob Arum because I was under the impression that when Terence Crawford told me that personally, that was the reason why the fight never materialized. And then moving forward, I saw that Terence Crawford was having issues with getting the deal done, and Bob Arum was nowhere near the negotiations, nor was he signed with Top Rank anymore. So I started to do my own research and conduct my due diligence as business people do, good business people do. And I started to discover a lot of inconsistencies. And so when I started to discover the inconsistencies from a professional standpoint, I was trying to critique Crawford on a professional level, and apparently it worked. So, I mean, the bottom line is, it's never personal. It's never personal. It's just business. And I caught a lot of flack from Crawford fans who don't understand the business. But the great thing about what I do on YouTube is that I use these inconsistencies, these hypocrisies, these insults as teachable moments. And the fans are educated all around the world. So I think I'm doing an okay job, you know, being a YouTube rookie.
Now, like you said, you had that same energy when you saw him in person.
Absolutely.
Your job is to give fighters the truth,
Yep.
not, you know, inflate their egos and not be sensitive.
Yep.
You give them the X, Y, Z's. Okay, this is the landscape.
Yep.
Do you think that's hard to hear sometimes?
Absolutely. It's very hard to hear. You know, but think about this in this regard. You have certain promoters and managers, and I'm not throwing any of my constituents under the bus. I'm just talking from a reality standpoint. You have so many promoters and so many managers who will blow smoke up the fighter's tailpipe because they really want the fighters to be motivated. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes they know that the fighters are not who, you know, the fighters are. And I'm talking about from a standpoint of monetary, right? Selling tickets and live gate and different things of that nature, or just you know, their fan base is not there. So sometimes you'll have certain promoters and managers trying to just give, you know, the fighter some of the surface answers, and then the fighters believe in the hype, or the media will hype up, you know, a fighter, and the fighters start reading their own news clips and start believing in the hype until it's time to really get in there and deliver, and then they fail. So me, I have a totally different perspective. Instead of me feeding you as a fighter small pieces of nonsense, I'd rather just give you a whole pie of truth, and then you got to deal with the realities of accepting the truth and dealing with it, so that we all can be successful around the table. But if I lie to a fighter or blow smoke up the tailpipe of a fighter and then get into the head of a fighter, making them believe that there's something that they're not, when the realities sink in, sometimes fighters don't know how to recover. So I just stay with what works for me, and that's always being truthful and being honorable about everything I say and do.
Now, it's being reported that the guarantees are upwards from 10 million, and that the rematch clause is at 154 pounds. What's your thoughts on those?
I mean, I think it's good. If both of these guys can make the weight moving up. I know Spence is very, very agitated at this point, waiting so long at the division of the 147-pound mark. And after this fight, if he accomplished the goals that he's been trying to accomplish for years, and that's to become the undisputed welterweight champion of the world, I don't see an issue with him moving up to 154. Crawford, the same thing. You know, he has a wide frame, so he can obviously make the weight. He's a little bit older as well, in the latter part of his 30s. So if these guys win, lose, or draw either way, can move up to the 154-pound division after somebody wins and become undisputed, I think is a good thing. The only catch is going to be, if Errol Spence wins, is he really going to fight Jermell Charlo? You know, barring if Jermell Charlo wins against Zoo, whenever that fight, you know, happens, because they are stablemates. They are trained by the same trainer in Derek James. So we'll see. The plot thickens, and we'll definitely see. But overall, I think it's a good thing. Both of these guys are in their late 30s. Why not move up?
Is the reason why the second fight is reportedly at 154 pounds is because the Wolves are at the door? There's 4 mandatories that are owed, and that's a whole lot of step-aside money.
I mean, let me tell you something. From a professional standpoint, it will behoove those older guys. I mean, and I'm saying older from a practical standpoint of age in boxing.
Yeah.
You know, you got, like I said, Crawford's on the latter part of 30s. Spence is like in the middle. You don't want these guys beating each other. Let's say one of them win, and then that fighter who wins is undisputed. You got another guy right behind you, and he's about 24, 25 years old, and y'all know I'm talking about Jerron Boots Ennis. Ain't nobody got time to be sitting up there trying to fight these young, hungry lions when you having trouble, you know, maintaining this weight in the first place. You've accomplished your goal. Both guys, Crawford or Spence, whoever win, go ahead and move up. It's cool, because if you don't, you know Boots is on your head.